going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Wednesday. This is Infinite Talk, and I'm joined by my co-host, John Talks. Hello, John. Hi. Wait,
Hey, Nina. How's it going?
Hi.
Howdy,
How are
everyone.
you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just seeing the world melt away sometimes, and I'm like, what's going on? What we're celebrating Nazis now. What's happening? Oh, okay. But I'm good. I hope you guys are all well too in the chat. Hello to all of you. We are simulcasting on Rumble. The link to the Rumble. Ooh, you drinking tonight?
I ran down during the intro. I was like, I'm gonna use this opportunity. I got some water too, but I'm like, I need something to drink. So
okay. What are you drinking?
Well, in light of the fact that we're talking about Canada, I've got some Canada House Canadian whiskey. Yeah. The good old
Oh my god.
It's good and it's cheap. It's good enough for me.
Oh my god. My god. Okay.
Who wants liquor that tastes, I don't know, like what do you drink whiskey at all? Of course you do.
I
Have to,
mean,
right? Maybe.
I've dabbled. It's not my drink of choice, but I've dabbled.
Okay.
I like the sweeter kind, but not like super sweet, but I like honey whiskey. That's actually like the Canadian kind, has like the little bit of a sweeter taste. Like I used to really like Southern Comfort.
Oh, okay. That's definitely a much more, it's a little bit higher and premium,
Yeah, like I just
Jack
had
would be
like
too.
the honey whiskey recently from like, I think it's like, I was gonna say Benson and Hedges, and that is not. That is not. That's a cigarette.
Okay.
I mean, what's the honey whiskey one?
Well, you're an occasional smoker, aren't you? From time
No,
to time? Oh, okay.
no, I never smoke. I
Not
don't know what you're
not even
talking.
socially with a
I
drink at all?
I don't
Okay.
dabble. I don't dabble in that. I don't know what.
Well,
You're.
mine is, oddly enough, it's Parliament's. So it's like I'm doing like, what the hell?
Well, I mean,
It is a good cigarette though. It's
well,
not
when
a
I
bad
like,
cigarette.
if
Not
I
that
ever
there's
did,
ever such a thing as a good cigarette. I want to make that
if I
clear.
ever did smoke, it would be like with a drink for sure, and it would be like American Spirits. Like that's
Okay.
American Spirits was my smoke of choice back in the day, but it's been a long time. But I always like smoke the greens more than the other thing anyway.
Oh,
So
okay.
I wasn't much of a cigarette partaker, more of the other partaker. And back then it was definitely not legal. So
This is true.
I've been a bad girl for a long time, and then it became legal. And then I was like, oh, okay. And
As
now
long
it's
as
like,
Uncle Sam
and now I
says
don't
it's
even
okay.
care.
Yeah. They're collecting their tax dollars.
But what I was going to say before you interrupted and distracted me with all this
Sorry.
drinking talk, that's okay, was that we're simulcasting on Rumble. The link is in the comment as well as the description. So you guys want to definitely go on Rumble. Rumble is doing great things over there. What's up, Rumble? I see you in the chats. And make sure you guys also smash the like, share the stream, all that good stuff, because, well, YouTube doesn't really push out anything in the algorithms. So do us a favor and tell everyone what we're talking over here. We are going to also be later joined by Comics Division, who's doing his own stream right now, but he will be here afterwards. And he's awesome. We're gonna have the show's obviously going to be split a little bit. We're going to talk YouTube friendly stuff here, writer strike, all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to go over to Rumble to discuss more of the Canadian news and also Trump and Mar-a-Lago, because that stuff was crazy. And I also want to get John's thoughts on the whole Russell Brand thing, which I think is more Rumble friendly stuff than here. So we're going to go over there and talk like adults the way we usually do. But I'm just trying to think what the hell. It wasn't Benson and Hedges that I was thinking of. What the hell drink was I thinking of? It starts with a B. What is a famous whiskey? I don't even know. Jim. It's not Jim Beam.
Jim Beam?
Is it?
Probably Jim Beam.
I'm trying
Jack
to think.
Daniels.
It's like Jack Daniels. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Jack Daniels honey whiskey. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe it was that. I don't know. It was like a black bottle and it had like honey on it. It was really cute. I liked it.
It was sweet.
It was
It
it was
tasted
sweeter. Like it didn't have
yeah.
like it wasn't super sweet because we also like I also tried like a peanut butter whiskey once, which was terrible. Like I was like,
It sounds bad. It sounds
like
like coffee beer.
it was like so gross. I was like, this is like who drinks this? But it was really, really sweet. And that one was just like that was no good. I don't know. Most people really like more like spicy whiskeys or like not flavored whiskeys, I feel like.
Yeah, I like my liquor to have a bite to it. Like I usually drink it. I like to drink it straight up most of the time. Like I'll drink, of course, like a
Like with ice or like on the
yeah,
rocks or no?
yeah. I mean, sometimes I've drank it without even ice,
That's
but
hardcore.
usually with some ice. Yeah, it's probably not probably not the best thing.
I like even putting like a little bit of a sparkling water on top of it. So you
Okay.
get like a bit of like whiskey flavor, but you're also hydrating at the same time. So like
Sure,
ice and
sure.
just a
No, that
little bit of
it's a good idea. Yeah, not a bad idea.
if I ever drink. I mean, I'm not a huge drinker. I honestly like don't like alcohol. That's a really weird thing to say, I know, but
No,
I
it's a
don't
good
enjoy
thing.
it the
I
way
mean,
other people do. I'm like, it's
yeah.
just it's like it's not like the getting over it part is not worth the fun part. Like I'm like,
Oh, like
like the
hangovers?
hangover and like
Yeah.
just dealing with like having a headache all day the next day. And I'm just like, this is just too much work for like the brief good feeling that you have. Very like short reward. I want a longer reward.
Yeah, you just have to keep it in that realm of moderation. That's
Yeah,
the thing where you're feeling good, but you're not pushing
overdoing
it
it.
too much. Yeah, but I've been there where I'm like, I'm never drinking again. And yeah,
And then you go back to it.
give it a little time. But you get a little bit smarter and wiser in terms of how you drink.
That's true. That's
I'd
true.
like to think.
Two zone says you can drink without getting drunk. I mean, what is
That's
even the
true.
purpose?
Yeah, get buzzed, get a little, a little relaxed.
Just take the edge off, I guess, is like
Yeah,
it's like a thing.
little
That's true.
nightcap and yeah.
Okay, let's see what topics do we have tonight. We have so much to talk about. It's like where do we even start? You know what we can start with? We can start about my story about running into David Wallace of all people in the airport when I came back from Los Angeles. Yeah, because I went to Los Angeles, John. I don't know if you heard,
LA,
but I was
nice.
there.
City of Angels.
City of Angels. I didn't see a lot of angels there. I saw a lot of devils. Fallen angels? I don't know. But it was next level because I went to the Chrissy Mares comedy show, and the first night there was interesting to say the least because they got into like people got into a fight.
I seen that clip, yeah.
It was pretty crazy, and then I was like, oh my god, like first night in LA.
I seen that clip.
Whoa, I
Oh,
heard myself.
my bad.
That's okay. And then then we went to like Universal Studios. The second show went really well. Everything was fine, no drama. But it felt kind of like weird though, the second show, because it's like I went there like all expecting something. It's like you expect something now. You're like, okay, like I'm prepared, like, I'm prepared for things to go down, and then like nothing happens. And I was like, well, that's
Because
kind of
after the first show?
yeah, it just felt kind of lackluster in a sense. Like, not that Chrissy did a bad job or anything. It's just like like I was expecting that same like intense feeling of my God, I might get killed tonight. So like that was a thing. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's, it's kinda hard to enjoy anything when you when you have that part of your brain activated where you're, like, in fight or flight mode, right?
Yeah,
You can't just you can't be in chill mode when you're in fight or flight mode, so
not at all. Not at all. I was
understanding.
like, oh my God, like I might get killed tonight. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. But and then we had a really great show. I went to Simcast, which Russell wants me to tell you about. I'll tell him. Just give me a minute, Russell. We did have a pillow fight. There was a pillow fight. Actually, you know what? Let me try and pull up the pillow fight for you because I'm sure you didn't see it. Did you see it? Did you happen to
Mm.
catch it?
Maybe I did perusing Twitter, but I think I saw a photo. Was there a photo of it?
There
I don't know
was
if
a
I actually.
photo. There
Okay, I
was
think
a
I saw
photo.
that, but I don't think I actually saw footage of the pillow fight.
Okay, let me get the live footage of the pillow fight. There we go. Is that me? Is that the one? Is that where we're all together? Yes, it is. Okay. Um, that Simcast was kind of crazy because we all went through the trauma that we experienced. Okay, here it is. Okay. This is kind of cute actually. All right, here we go. See there we go, getting intimate with everyone.
And we're back.
Okay, hold on. Why is this
I
such
got
bad?
frostbitten. My camera wire is really loose. All right, 200 watt. Nina, welcome to the USA. Thank you, 200 watt.
Thank you.
It is a little hot in here. I think everyone's hungry and squirrely, and I have other articles, but I feel like this was a good recap episode.
Let's see.
Feelings, moments.
I do. I fucking love that I met you. This is the
Okay, there we go. This is good.
like close it out with like let's
Okay,
get
there we
gay
go.
now. Let's get gay.
Nina, where can people find
Do we
you?
want to like close it out with like a pillow fight? I mean, everyone's been
Everyone's been asking.
for
All
it.
right, throw me
Look, that was me. I just want to take a moment to say that this would have never happened without my suggesting that there would be a pillow fight. So Russell Hall, you're welcome. You're very welcome for that.
pillow.
Let's go.
I'm
Come on.
not. Let's have
Somebody's got to take the first swing.
What do you want us to do? You
Who's it? Who's it gonna be?
yeah, everybody, let's go on the bed.
And how?
Crazy Train podcast.
I gotta take my shoes off.
I've actually not rewatched this.
I take my shoes off.
It's the first time I've seen this.
Are we really doing this?
The chat. I do know that when this happened, because like her camera turned off for a second because somebody tripped over the wire trying to get ready for the fight. And then the chat was losing their minds. They were like,
Turn the
Don't
camera
don't
back
don't
on. Some people were like, this is the only reason I'm here.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like I waited this whole time.
Where's my light back a little?
I want the My Pillow guy to endorse this. My machine washable and dryable. All of these. Yeah.
Take your jacket off. Get into position.
I was like, I'm not taking my jacket off. I did not.
We're
take it.
gonna close out. Everybody, as we do our pillow fight, shout out your handle and what's coming up for you.
At least you have enough pillows to go around.
Oh yeah,
And
we
there
had
she
lots of
goes.
pillows. Look at
Chrissy
Chrissy.
has
Look at Chrissy
initiated
going
it,
crazy.
and I don't know. Did she? Was there some? She seemed to have a vendetta against her.
Okay, so let me just introduce you to all the ladies here. So this is so that's Keanu. That's Lila. Let me see here.
Or you
Gonna look
probably
better.
start with your best friend first.
Well,
too.
okay. So
Yeah.
Keanu was the one that she was having the show with. So they're like really good friends.
Yeah.
And this girl, I forget her name. Jasmine, I'm guessing it was her. Yeah, Jasmine. And then she's a porn star. So I was like, oh, this is like she
This
was
is like
really
this
nice.
is like nothing. This is like nothing to her. The whole
Yeah,
idea
no,
of
but
having a pillow
like
fight.
when John, when I walked in, she was talking about like being like gangbanged.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, wait, what did I just walk into? Like it was like a whole conversation. I was just like sitting there like there's I'm sitting next to a porn star that wasn't a gangbang, but okay. Like we're just gonna roll with it.
Podcast.
She's really nice, though, really nice girl. Like super
They
nice.
usually are. They
Yeah.
usually
I
are.
take my shoes off.
If you don't, wait,
I take my
I
shoes off.
appreciated her a
Ready?
lot. So then
Are we
Oh,
really
this is
doing this?
oh, wait,
You
hold on.
should jump up and
We're gonna close.
So yeah, that's
Everybody, as we
Keanu.
do our
Obviously, this is Anna. She doesn't want to be there or do this, but she's doing it anyway. That's Lila. And that's
Right,
it. That's all
shout
the
out
players.
your handle and
Obviously,
what's coming
Chrissy.
up for you.
Somebody should be grabbing. There's still 2 pillows there. I don't understand
know.
why nobody is
We
taking.
failed.
Yeah.
And that Chrissy's like, it's on.
It's just a gang. It's like a gang beat down.
We all just started beating Kiana. I was like,
Anna
it
is
was
so
funny.
unenthusiastic about this whole thing. She's like, okay, I'm done.
She's like, I'm ducking out of the way. I don't even care about this.
We love you.
And then things got really, and
Yeah,
then things got really,
Is it picking
really,
up?
yeah, it started
Oh, okay.
getting like,
Yes.
it just started getting really
We
bad.
want you.
Yeah, somebody just needs to get hit in the face really, really good to
Well,
escalate a good
okay,
pillow
so
fight.
it started getting really like, it just started escalating a lot. And that's why Russell wants me to tell you about the pillow fight, because when the camera turned off, like things escalated to like the 100th degree. Like we started to like take our clothes off, and like, you know, we were all in 90s.
All
and
right, all right.
like it was like this whole thing. There was
Now I
feathers
know
everywhere.
This is all kayfabe, guys. She is so bullshitting you. But
There,
go ahead. Keep going with it.
there was feathers everywhere. Anna busted out a little bubble thing where she was like throwing, like, you know, blowing bubbles like as we're like pillow fighting. So there was feathers, there was bubbles, there was, you know, all sorts of girly things. We like, you know,
Clothes,
bras started coming off.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing. And now Russell says I gotta go.
Yeah.
And that was
Russell.
my trip to the States. So, but yeah, and then in when I went back home, I experienced something really weird, which was Karen. Like I came face to face with a Karen, like really crazy hardcore Karen, because you like, you know, you like, it's like Karen in the wild. Like you never really think they exist because you're like, oh, I've seen these videos.
Yeah,
you know,
you
like,
just see them on videos, but they're like,
Yeah.
you know, what are the odds of actually running into a real Karen?
yeah,
You know, like it's probably like one in a, you know, probably about a good 1 in 100,000.
yeah, you're like, oh my god, it's like in the wild, like, you know.
But you were in LA, so I'd say the odds are they're kind
Higher.
of increased. Yeah.
Well, because I saw like both things in LA now, right? Like I saw like an actual crime.
I seen that dude get hit in the face. I seen the video before it got taken down. And then some guy was trying to argue that wasn't a sucker punch. I'm like,
What? No, that was
shit, man. That was
yeah.
totally a sucker punch. The guy came
was.
up with his hand like open like this.
Mhm.
You know, he wasn't coming up with, you know,
He wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And Grady, like the guy that got punched, he was drunk. Like he was very, very drunk.
Yeah,
So
he was not looking to do anything.
no,
Poor guy got
no.
freaking.
It was bad.
That was bullshit.
It was bad.
You don't hit somebody that's you
No,
know.
and then everybody becomes a Monday morning quarterback too. Like they were saying like really mean things about him, and it's like it was just like you're not there in the position in that situation. Like you just don't know how
He
things
was
go down.
drunk and he didn't know who he was dealing with.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes that happens.
It was just
Sometimes
bad
you don't
news
know
all
how
around.
crazy people are. Like
Mhm.
that guy was obviously crazy.
Well, he was like on something,
Yeah.
which we all think was meth because we discussed it. We were like at first, Christy thought he was like on fentanyl, but fentanyl makes you like more like you
Yeah.
know, like more dead
Tapped
kind of
out.
thing. Like you're like,
Yeah.
eh. But like we all thought it was meth because he was like really creative and he was trying to share his like poetry with Christy. Like that was the whole start of the thing, is like, it's just like poetry night. Can I share my poetry? Like that's kind of how it started. And
Could
then
have been just high.
he was messed up.
Well, yeah, I was thinking, you know.
And then so it was, oh my god, look, definitely not a sucker punch. Bro, you weren't there. It was. But anyways, then I saw the Karen at the airport at LAX, and we were like hanging out, like I was getting coffee in the lineup, at like 5 in the morning, and there was this woman standing behind me, and she was wearing a shirt that had scripture on the back of it. And then all of a sudden I turn around because this like other woman, this woke white woman behind her was like, "Did you just flash the white supremacy sign at me, bitch?" And then like I was just like, "Wait, what the fuck did what's happening?" So I like turn around, and this woman, like this older woman, was behind me, and she's like 62 years old. She's like, "I'm 62 years old. I have no idea what you're talking about." She's like, "Yes, you do, you fucking bitch." And she starts going off at her. And I'm like,
Wait, it
"Whoa."
was the white. The Karen she was white.
Yeah, she was a woke
Okay.
white woman. She was like literally a Karen.
And so why was she worried about getting the what the hell was she even talking about? The
Well,
white
she was talking about
supremacy.
I'm guessing she was talking about this, and I'm guessing that inadvertently, because the woman was standing behind, like with her hands behind her back. So I'm guessing inadvertently, maybe she made that sign with her fingers or something. Like I have no idea. John, I don't know.
I've heard so many different things about what this means.
I well, this used to mean okay. Like it used to mean
Right.
like, and it still does. Like in diving, this means okay in diving. Like that is
Right.
a universal sign for you're okay. Like they don't do like this. They go like this in like diving hand signals. Apparently, like divers now are white supremacists. Who knew?
Well, you heard
Um,
about the the 666, right? That this
no.
is that it's like the sign of it's 3 sixes basically. Could you see it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I never heard
See,
that before.
that's what I'm saying. Like there's so many different it's like an Illuminati thing.
I know that's
So
it.
Trump
It
Trump
used
was
to be an
always
Illuminati
he
thing
always did
too.
this.
Because they used to like they do these kind of things, and they're like in hidden paintings and stuff. There's
Yeah,
like
you'll
different
see the
ones.
photos where the actors and actresses are doing, they'll do that.
Yeah,
So
like they're like, like they'll do other stuff. Like I don't know, whatever. Anyways,
yeah, that's the thing where it's like what what people people could just be I don't know, it could just be like one mannerism they're using and somebody could read into it and say like, "Oh, you're a white supremacist. Oh, you're Illuminati. You're worshiping the devil." Like, I mean, it's
yeah.
just like,
Well,
man,
in this
crazy
woman's
time.
case, because she was wearing scripture on her back, so it was like she could definitely not be, a devil worshiper or something like that.
Sure.
But this woman went crazy. And then there was another couple behind her, and they were like, "This woman is mentally insane, like mentally ill. Like, don't talk to her." Like they were saying that to me because I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And she's like, she was going crazy, and then she just stormed off, and I was like somebody should tell security about this woman because she's nuts. Like she's clearly crazy. And then the couple behind her, the other woman was like, uh they were telling me that she was taking pictures of them just randomly for no reason, and like trying to like, they were like, "We have no idea why she was taking pictures of us, but she's just crazy. She's looking for some sort of something to start something." I was like, I guess she's trying to go viral. Like, I don't know. But then I got into a huge conversation with the girl or the lady who was wearing the scripture. And she was like telling me how she thinks that woman was the devil and like, or like had the devil in her. And like, she didn't like the demons didn't like the scripture on her back and like stuff like that. And I was like, well, clearly she was very offended about whatever this was.
So
Did you
was
see
she
this?
behind her?
Yeah. No,
Okay, so
the woke woman was behind her.
that's what I was okay.
Yeah.
So
And then
she
the
saw
couple.
she saw the shirt and
Yeah, she saw the shirt and whatever this hand signal was, and then just went irate. Like she was like, "Oh my god, like how dare you?" It was freaking nuts. Let me see if I can pull up the picture for the what's it called? This because I took a picture. I asked the woman because I was like,
I think
I
I
don't understand why
remember
people are so mad at you. Like, do you mind if I take a picture of your, like, what says, like, what your shirt says? And she's like, yeah, no problem. And I even told her, like, I'm a content creator. And she's like, oh, you are? And I was like, yeah, like, you should check out my channel. So if you're checking me out, lady, like, it's good to see you. Cause she said she was going to. Cause we started talking about, she was like, well, what do you do on YouTube? And I was like, well, I talk about like politics and stuff, but I also talk about how Disney is destroying like all everything. And she's like, "Oh my god, I would really like your channel because I think so too." And she was like, she really hated Disney. It was really funny. Let me just Oh my God, I've tweeted
I
out
think it
so
was
much.
Matthew 28:20, or well, it was the go into all the world and preach the gospel. I think that was
Yeah, it was something about travel. I
okay.
know that. Yeah, something about going around and preaching the gospel. It was exactly something like that. I think you're nailing it. Trying to find the exact one. I tweet way too much. I just realized.
Yeah, I do too. I remember when I first got on Twitter and I was like, how do these people, some of like these, they were like comic professionals or just people like famous people in general. You see them like just tweeting like all the time.
All the
And
time.
I'm like, how in the world do they get anything done? And then I go to my Twitter feed now and I'm like, because I'm constant on Twitter looking for content. So
I know I'm
yeah,
the same way, and I'm like,
so,
oh my God, this is not good. I shouldn't be doing this.
yeah,
But I did do it. Okay, here we go. I'm at the part. There it is. I found it. Okay.
cool.
Okay. So this was because I wrote the story right then. Like I was like, okay, I gotta tweet this out because this is crazy. I mean, mind you, I'm not a great content creator because what I should have done was
Make a
bust out
video.
my phone immediately when the Karen started going off. Like I should have just been like, oh my God, I'm here in LAX. This Karen's going off. Holy shit. Like that's what content creators really do. But this was like right there, right then.
Oh, okay. Oh,
This
it's
was
Luke
the
6, Luke 9:6.
Yeah, Luke 9
Yeah.
says, so they departed and went through the towns preaching the gospel and healing everywhere. I mean, really, is this so triggering? Like, I don't, I don't understand. What, like, even if you're like not Christian or like you don't like Christianity or whatever, like, it's not even like something so like preachy. It's like, okay, like they just,
Yeah,
it's not really that bad. It's like,
it's just
okay.
like a very narrative thing. Like, yeah, some people went and did this.
Yeah, it's like,
Uh,
okay. Like it's not even like a Jesus thing or something, like, be
yeah, it's not
nice to
like,
everyone.
repent or go to hell
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
like something like
Something really
that.
triggering, yeah, like,
Yeah, which
if you
isn't
don't
that's
like,
not
you
a Bible verse, by
sinners.
the way, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you do this, you're a sinner or whatever, like, it's pretty milquetoast, like, as far
Yeah,
as, scripture goes or whatever.
not
But
really
anyways,
not really
and
offensive.
And then on my way back to the thing, because I went and dropped off some drinks and I went to like get more stuff. And then we ran into David Wallace in in the airport. Well, my husband actually spotted him and was like, oh my God, look, it's David Wallace. And for those of you who don't know who David Wallace is, he's the guy in The Office that was Michael's boss. Hold on.
Do you know his real name?
I'm looking it up right now. Andy Buckley.
Okay.
His name is Andy Buckley. I like the name David Wallace way better than Andy Buckley. I can tell you that much right now. But he was clearly like on the way to somewhere, but he was literally dressed up like David Wallace was when he got fired from Dunder Mifflin. And he was wearing like sweats and he was just like, oh my God, I just saw the image and it's just literally he was this guy. Again, this is why I'm not a great content creator because I could have taken a picture of him and been like, oh man, the actor strike is really hurting people. But basically, this is what he looked like.
look like.
He was very disheveled, like wearing like very like baggy sweats. His sweat had a hoodie though. He was wearing a hoodie. Just like, not in the mood to talk to anyone. That's why I didn't approach him because I was like, yeah, celebrities just want their like peace and quiet for a minute too. Like at 5 a.m. in the airport, it's just like, I don't know if the guy wants to be approached right now, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I could have.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's
that was
him.
very, very nice of you to do that. Yeah, I think that celebrities look like they're purposely disheveled so they can
So yeah,
hopefully try to the only
the
problem
purpose.
is everybody else is like putting on their best so they're gonna stand out now if they look a little bit like disheveled, right?
Yeah, I think he was trying to like not be recognizable, but it was definitely funny because he was even more recognizable because of that Office episode. But yeah, so that was that thing. But I think that's a really good segue into basically what one of our topic is tonight, which is that the writer's strike is over now. Now the actor's strike is not, but the writer's strike is, and I think the
Boo.
actors is it boo? Is it a boo thing for you
Oh, absolutely.
that the writer's strike is over?
We need some new blood in the industry.
Ooh,
That's my opinion.
that's a hot take.
Yeah. Get rid of, basically, you can get rid of like 95% of writers out there. Let's get some new stuff in.
Oh my God.
Please.
Speaking of a writer who's going to have a fight with you now that you said that, here's Script Doctor.
Hey, what's up, Script Doctor?
Oh, hey, lots have been up actually. I just
Hi.
saw this the link in my Twitter a few moments ago, and I thought I'd pop in because I'm still awake.
Good.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
We're
How are
doing
you?
good. John was giving us a hot take where he said like you should be out of a job. He doesn't want you here.
I didn't say Script Doctor in particular. I like, I think I would. I think he should keep his job, but I think a lot of the wokies out there, like the writers of She-Hulk and all these other Ahsoka and just these terrible Disney shows need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Not just
well,
them, but
a
more.
lot of them are on a short list because social media was a double-edged sword for one, garnering support in California for the strike, and two, showing the people that were the problem of the union as well. As for Ahsoka, they could use writers because the only person writing it is Dave Filoni, and he's terrible.
That's a good point.
That's why it sucks so bad, probably.
And one of the things that's kind of fascinating here is with the new prohibitions with regards to AI. If you're a terrible writer that has been using it since it kind of debuted universally, essentially, you're screwed because AI generated content or AI content that has been trained with screenwriting is prohibited. So
now it is, right?
It's now prohibited. So if anything that has been written by a WGA member is used to train an AI, it cannot be, that AI can no longer be used as a research as a writing model or writing resource for union members or studios. And it's
which I think is good. Like that's
I think it's really good because it's cleverly written in a way where it basically says if you're a hack that's been using AI, guess what? The free ride is over.
Yeah, the buck stops here. So
and the studios now have to disclose any type of AI stuff they use for you. They can't control you for it. They can't diminish your pay for it. It basically forces writers that actually have talent to keep working at their skill and talent to be better, and they can't cheat. And it turns AI from being a tool that can rewrite your work to essentially a tool of like, if you have a question about something that you don't know anything about that you're trying to do for research, that's your starting point. Like, for instance, if you want to say, what's the weather conditions like on Neptune? Because you try to Google search it and it just tells you all this crap that has nothing to do with what you're looking for. The AI will give you a better start so you can now refine your search to actually look something more specific. And that's where you start that's where you're picking up your own material through other sources, but you just basically got AI was the compass to point you in more of the right direction. And I'm actually liking a lot of the takes because I'm seeing some people on the Instagram, on the Facebook, on the YouTube doing commentaries like, well, this is hypocritical. The studios can't use AI, but the writers can. And it's like, well, look at the subtext of the wording. If any AI is used to if any of AI is trained with written material under the WGA, it can't be used.
Right.
Which means that it's basically just made it a non-issue on the creative side of things. It doesn't prohibit any of studios or writers or directors from using AI to figure out what the audience might want, which is different because it's not about writing, it's about analytics.
Right.
And I think this is basically a clever hoodwink of the studios where they probably didn't realize that AI is a constantly learning algorithm
Mm-hmm.
I think they assumed like, oh, they make the AI. So if it's programmed and stuff here, that's what it is. It's never going to grow. It's going to be what it is. So we can still invest it. But the irony is that that's not
That's
how it works.
short-sighted.
Oh no, it's yeah.
And I basically would look at this. If it's the wording of these 4 points, when you compress them all together as to like one perspective on the AI, it basically kind of hoodwinks the studios from saying, you thought you're going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in AI. Well, guess what? Even if you do, the instant you feed it a script from a union member, whether it's an old episode of Hogan's Heroes or something that hasn't been fully produced yet, but was written by a WJ member, it completely becomes null and void again.
So this is
how can you prove the only thing is like if they actually did do something like that?
Yeah.
How is there any way of proving that would be the case?
Well, one of the things we've seen right now in regards to AI is the uncanny valley effect, not just on the visual side of things, but mostly on the writing. The writing is very derivative, and the term of language you can kind of identify because it doesn't have the same perspective of voice in a script that you would normally get. So if it feels too bland or generic, it's probably might be an AI, and that's enough suspicion to basically warrant an investigation. And so what it would basically saying is like, you're going to be challenged that you may have used AI for the script, either through arbitration or through another union mean, in which case you as the accused will have to defend your position. Like, did you or did you not use AI? And that might even be subject to the point of finding out if your IP address or an email account that you're associated with was logged into an AI and finding out what that AI history or interaction was, because that's actually available. That's part that becomes part of the algorithm.
Man, that's crazy. Like search your whole history.
I mean, well, the ideal part would be searching only the known or registered aspects of AI interaction as to keep the relative search history private. It's like if you went through ChatGPT or Google's AI or Microsoft's AI, which are now publicly known AI things, and we can prove that you were there. And not only that, we can pull the logs of what type of interaction you've had. That will basically expose you as either you've been using AI to help rewrite your work, or you used AI as a tool to help get information, but none of the information, none of the wording of that information was applied to your script. So, for instance, you are looking to find something about aquatic life, and you're finding all this information about various rare species that have been cataloged and whatnot. So long as you are not quoting the AI in there, but you have actually got your own take on it. Like the knowledge points may be factual, which you can't really copyright knowledge points when it comes to certain sciences or researches. If that's all original, then you're fine. But if there's a paragraph in there regarding a certain species that you thought was really great, and you lifted that from the AI and put it in your script, boom, your script is now disqualified because it's got AI generated material. You either have to excise that out and then write it 100% on your own.
Yeah.
Or you face whatever penalties that come with doing that. And in addition, that AI service is now prohibited. That's on like a blacklist for the studios and WJ signatories saying, yeah, you can't use that to help write your scripts better. But the studios can use it for other things, but that material has to be disclosed to the writer, and there is no requirement for the writer to even use it. And whatever stipulations there are, that has to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. And even if something of it is used by the studios but not by the writer doesn't lose any potential negotiating power over the selling of that script because AI was involved from either party.
Yeah, I definitely think I mean, as far as AI goes, it's a little ways away before, even if it does produce, really well-rounded, completed scripts.
Mhm.
It's like we are such a ways away from that. At least in my mind, I would think that most writers are just better off writing original material rather than trying to rely on AI to. I'm sure it could be helpful in some ways, but for the most part.
Yeah, like if there's a movie or a book title that you only know partially and you're like, I know what the rest of it is, but I can't find it. And when you're doing the search and just giving you all these other flooding and members, you go to an AI and you say, okay, I need to know the book title that Dashiell Hammett wrote around this year, and I can't really remember it. And the AI will give it back to you. It's like, okay, there it is. That's your book title. Then you just you go off.
Isn't that
That's
just
fine.
Google though? I mean, like,
Well,
is Google AI then? I mean, technically, I
no,
guess it
Google
is.
is a different form of algorithm. It's a semantic it's a semantic search engine, so it doesn't really learn from you in the same way that a chat GPT does, but
Mm,
it does recognize patterns. But the other part too is the way that Google populates its search results is it has a different type of priority base. So it's a chat GPT is kind of indiscriminate in a sense. It doesn't care. It's like you ask for something is like, I'm going to find you the most efficient answer to that question. Where
mhm.
Google will be like, well, we'll have certain websites that might have your answer, and that'll be priority at the top, and then we'll have all the other things that are down, and also any of the flooding or oversaturation from other people asking questions will be mixed in with that. So you've got a lot of trash kind of coming in to kind of obstruct you from getting the answer you want, while at the same time kind of presenting you the opportunity of having another question or clicking on another link that might give you your answer, but also give you a whole bunch of other stuff, possibly advertisement, possibly taking you down a rabbit hole. I'm sure you guys know about the Wikipedia rabbit hole, where if you click on a random link, eventually it'll take you to that one Wikipedia page all the time.
Yeah.
Right now,
I
a Google search engine is kind of like that on a far more elaborate level.
Well, I also was thinking about what I was muted as you were saying, and I was trying to make the point. I was like, "Oh no, I was muted." But the when you were talking about like the kind of like the repercussions of using the AI, kind of reminds me of what the universities had to start putting out, because people were starting to use GTP for their
For
or
their
chat
papers.
GPT for their papers. Yeah, for their like, you know, their year-end papers, like
Yeah, your
what's it, a
thesis,
thesis for their
yeah, and all
thesis.
those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
And the universities were like really started to crack down on that now, because some people were getting away with it. So I think that that's kind of like, I guess it's similar to that. They're going into like really trying to figure out like who's using these, and if they're going to use it, there's going to be like major repercussions.
Well, the
But
thing is that something like this can be a useful tool to help you grow or stimulate ideas and whatnot. And then the thing that people are really worried about is that it could be a crutch. It could be a point where it makes
mm,
you in a state of arrested development where you're never going to grow. And especially when you're dealing with education, where its entire principle is to kind of make you reach your full potential. Uh,
right.
and of course, the systems, whether it's public, private, charter, what have you, has not been really succeeding at that recently. Um,
No.
Something like figuring this out would be a good use of returning that potential. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting to note here is that any written material that is not um, written by a union member, past, present, or future, can be used to train an AI. So, public domain stories,
Oh.
um, any novelists or short story writer that's not a member of the union, their work is not protected by that, so it can be used to train an AI. However, that AI again is going to be kind of stuck at arm's reach from ever being utilized um, for creative endeavors in the entertainment industry, because the moment you feed it in your script or a part of your script as a union member, it's immediately disqualified. It's prohibited because anything that you ask it or do
It's
contributes to its
cheating.
learning algorithm.
Yeah.
So this is a really great win when it comes to AI. But don't get me wrong, I would not be surprised if studio lawyers and even big tech lawyers are trying to figure out a way how they can work around this.
Yeah,
Probably.
is there any timetable like on this? Did they say like for the next 20 years, or is this indefinitely, it seems?
Right, the way it's worded in the 94-page MBA, it looks like this is an indefinite, that it's only subject to change if so that during the next 3-year negotiation, they want to add something new or take something off.
If they have to
So
go back to the negotiating table, basically. But I think this is a good question, though. So, Script Doctor, and I know Script Doctor did a stream about like breaking this whole thing down. Like this morning, I was watching that, like the replay, which I thought was really good. Into like if you want to go into really detail, but if you kind of want to go into point form of what is the major changes to the thing, which I think is basically like the minimum wage increase
mhm.
and compensation increases, were the big ones. Like this one here, the health fund contribution on reportable earnings will increase 0.5% in the second year of the agreement, from 11.5% to 12%. The guild also has the right to divert an additional 0.5% to each of the second and the third years of contract from various minimum increases in the health fund or pension plan. So there was a bunch of wage stuff. There was one that was 5%. No, oh, this was it. Most of the NBA minimums increased 5% on ratification of the contract, 4% on 5/2/24, and 3.5% on 5/2/25. Some minimums and rate increases less, mostly by 3% each year, while a few rates increase only once or do not increase over the contract. These expectations are a result of patterns established in the industry. So can you comment basically kind of like on the wages, and are you happy with this increase, or is that not enough, or like what do you think of this?
Well, I think this one is a good win because the original offer was like a 6, 5, and 4,
Mm-hmm.
and the studio's counter offer was half of that, and on the low end side of the half. And then after the negotiations were complete, they ended up getting pretty much what they wanted by only losing 1% on each tier and only 0.5% on the third tier. So that's a pretty good win because in the art of negotiation, you always ask for enough more so that
More.
the counter offer gets to what you kind of really want in line.
Mm-hmm.
And based on these percentages here, based on the overall increases, again, these are minimum basics, which means that if you get hired, this is your starting point for negotiations. So if you're really good, you can get way more than that. And if you're just starting out, that's kind of all you're going to have. But you got to earn your got to kind of earn your quote, so to speak, as the industry goes, with however much work you do and how successful that is. So this here is basically just to kind of combat the obscene rising prices in California, along with the general inflation that the country has been facing for the past 3 years and change.
Inflation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're doing the calculations saying that if the regular working writers, which is about 10% of the 20,000 that are actually in Hollywood, they will be able to pay or at least earn a little bit of a savings if they end up working regularly, which again is a very difficult thing to do in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Jobs are always few and far between. And even though the pay is quite amazing when you look at it, you have to realize this is not a consistent job 52 weeks of the year. It's contract based. It's either 9 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks.
You're hustling. You're constantly hustling for work. I imagine, unless you are one of those, you're one of the top 1 or 2% of writers where they're actually coming looking for you.
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly.
And-
most of the job of writing is actually finding work, and then the reward is being able to do it.
Yeah.
And so like right now we went through the artificial intelligence with basically and we went through pretty much the terms of like the minimum wage increases and all the kind of like increases to the wages and everything like that. Is there anything else specific that you can think of that really was like a standout thing to you that you guys achieved with this?
Yeah, one thing that that a lot of people who've been following me know is that I was very much against, and still am against, a minimum hiring standard when it comes to writing or creating a show. And as I was getting more information and more talks about it, they were trying to convince me it's a good thing, but they're doing it in the very wrong aspect. See, they were doing it on the angle of more people will work, where I was looking at it, trying to look at it from the same perspective of the negotiating committee. And one of the people on the negotiating committee is named Ellen Stutzman. She was a Ivy League graduate of labor relations and unions, and then became a research analyst, and then has worked for the WGA for 15 years. And she spent the last 5 years basically being the assistant and head negotiator and training to the WGA's more legacy negotiator, whose name has escaped me right now because it's almost 11 p.m. And I was looking at it from her perspective of detail oriented. And one of the things that's been a constant complaint since streaming really took off was the mini room. And what a mini room is, it was originally advertised as basically just a small writer's room for, more efficient writing of a long form show. But what it ended up turning out to be is a mini room, which is a compressed room to create a full season of television, be it 6 episodes, 8 or 10, almost exclusively for the streaming series, for streaming services. And so the normal length of time needed to write a good show, be it a half hour or an hour, is on average 2 weeks per episode that you have. So if it's a 6-episode miniseries, you're looking at 12 weeks of work. If it's 8, 16, and so forth. What the studios were doing is they were forming these mini rooms and they were compressing it down to try and be basically 1 to 2 months of work to do an entire show from concept to final drafts of script ready to go for production.
Dang.
And as a result, you're getting lots of these mini rooms popped up for lots of content and lots of shows. But the work that would normally be covering you for multiple months, if not most of the year, was now compressed in half the time. And so people were really upset with this. They didn't like the mini room. It was basically destroying the idea of the traditional writer's room where you as a writer, you write a pilot, you pitch it around town, someone loves it, they put it into production, it goes into pilot season, it gets picked up, therefore you form a writer's room, which means however many writers you need, whether it's yourself that on your own, like a J. Michael Straczynski or Taylor Sheridan, or you're like a Ronald D. Moore or an Iris D. Robert, and just bringing in writers that you want to work with to help break down the story and get your full run. That was always up to the choice of the showrunner, who would then have to negotiate with the studios of what writers they want. That was completely removed in the model of the mini room. And so what they ended up saying here is, well, we took a look at a pattern of how the studios behave with any new deal that they kind of capitulate on for the writers. And in certain areas where deals are expensive or more expensive than they were prior to that new negotiation, the studios kind of stopped doing it more. And so what it looks like to me when I'm looking at the contract is they basically said, if the studios are going to create the writers' rooms, the mini rooms, because that's what they do, we are going to kind of price it to a point where it would be more lucrative for you to go to the older model than to try and compress it all in a 6 to 8 week writer's room. And that's kind of what happened here. They're basically saying, well, we're going to force you guys to, number one, make sure that if you're going to make a mini room, you're going to hire writers, like multiple writers. And it's going to be a minimum of 3 for 6 episodes, 6 writers for 10, 10 for 8 or 9 episodes, and 13 plus, you have to have like, almost 6 to 9 writers or so in that regard. They're trying to make it expensive deliberately because the mini room is designed to kind of cheapen the writer's room in addition. So the goal is like, okay, I'm a studio exec. I want to do a new television show on my streaming service. I'm going to make it an assignment work, which means I've got an idea and I'm just going to hire some writers to develop it. There's 2 ways I can do it. I can do a mini room, which means it's going to be pretty expensive and it's going to be an intense 6 weeks, or I could save between 10 and 25% of my overall cost on the writer stuff and just find a writer to create their own room and have it run over multiple months. And that's kind of where it is. Like, what's the studio going to do? They're always going to go for the cheaper version. And they basically just came out and said, if you want to do a writer's room, mini room, we're going to make it so expensive for you that you're just not going to want to do it anymore. And that then solves 2 problems. Number one, it solves the problem of basically having writers, especially on the Disney side of thing, try and write up a Marvel or Star Wars show in a compressed amount of time, either by themselves or with only another writer, to, you're now going to have 3 or 4 months to write this Star Wars or Marvel show, which means that, and you're going to be able to pick your own writer's room and pick how many writers you want, and you're going to have time. So it kind of, unless you're a terrible writer like Dave Filoni, you have a better chance of creating a better written show over time in the traditional model than you have in saying, okay, you got 6 weeks to write 8 episodes.
Yeah.
I love how you're like shots fired. Real quick, let me get these couple of Rumble rants and super chats. Thank you, BPST, for the massive Rumble rant saying, hi, thanks for this strike explanation for $50. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Yeah, thank you, Script Doctor, for coming by and explaining so much of this stuff, because I know, like, it's been hard. It's been hard on people like yourself to be, on a strike, even if you don't necessarily agree or disagree with a lot of stuff going on.
Yep.
I think you were in agreement with the strike, though, weren't you, personally?
For a number of the points, yeah, but again, the compelled writings, minimum staffing, I'm still not happy about it, but I get what they were kind of doing. And again, just because they now have it, it doesn't mean it's going to go away. It's like,
Yeah.
it might still be used. It might still like linger on.
Did they
the
do
good-
anything about like I guess the stuff that John kind of brought up, like the woke stuff? Like, are they gonna get rid of any of or did it even go
of the
over?
ideology stuff?
Not just ideology stuff, but like the check marks. Like, are they gonna get rid of any of the check mark things? Like, oh, you need this, this, and this. Like,
Well, that's not ever been in any of the union contract side of things. That's actually on the hiring side of things. That's on the studio side, which the union can't really control in that part.
Oh.
However, because a lot of them had put their foot in their mouth on social media, and also many of the problem writers were actually accosting directors that were standing in solidarity with them, as well as some of the actors. Um,
Mhm.
People don't forget in Hollywood, especially in an industry with fragile egos. So if you bit the hand that fed you, you're not working. And a lot of
It's
people
true.
were calling out Zaslav and Iger, and they were of that woke ideology. And it's basically going to be they're not getting jobs in the future
Ooh.
with those studios.
A lot of
And
people are like, yeah, I mean, I would imagine so. Like that was like my feelings about it when we were talking about this, about like James Gunn's brother, like coming out and saying like some really mean things about what's his
well, he's
name?
trying to word it as
Bob
Netflix.
Iger.
Yeah, and he definitely did some stuff for Iger. But yeah, I mean,
Well,
he
right
knew
after he stopped working for Disney, all of a sudden it's like, oh, Disney sucked so bad and Marvel was terrible and like all this stuff. And it's just like, dude, you were on your knees like two months ago before, like, before Guardians 3 dropped. You were not singing that tune. I mean, I didn't hear anything like that from that guy. For them. But let me really quickly get this one here too. Viral today. Thank you for the $20. I didn't say anything, so thank you. I appreciate that. And also 904. Thank you for gifting 10 memberships to the YouTube chat. That is incredibly generous. So thank you so much. And Mr. Tickle Trunk, before we started the stream, left this message for $5. Says the situation in Canadian Parliament was even worse. The old guy was SS. Yahtzees were captured, but every SS was shot on sight because they were worse. Mr. Tickle Trunk, we are going to be discussing this and much more, probably over on Rumble though. But I wanted to kind of definitely discuss that, especially now that you're here, Script Doctor, because well, you're Canadian.
Oh
And
God, and that was infuriating seeing that.
there's a lot to discuss. But before we do, staying on the entertainment topics a little bit more, I heard a couple of things today that I wanted to go over with you guys, which was one, and I'm sure John's going to be happy about this one, was that Christopher Nolan might be directing the next James Bond. How do you feel about that, John?
Hey, he's been wanting to do it for some time. And I think Tenet too was kind of him playing around with the whole idea of not necessarily developing a character or characters.
Boo.
Because he has expressed, it's a dream project for him, at least as far as I've heard. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I'm totally down for it. I'm totally, hey, Christopher Nolan, I'm gonna watch whatever he's doing. It doesn't matter.
I still haven't seen Oppenheimer, but I will. I'm gonna watch it.
I feel
Yeah.
like Tenet too. The second time I watched it, it's a little bit of a brain bender, and I appreciate the fact that I'm challenged in in
You're
watching.
challenged, all right.
Very challenged, yeah, by watching. Didn't mean it like that, of course, but it's a challenging film to watch, to try to wrap your brain around what's exactly happening in terms of the
Yeah,
plot.
totally. No, I get that. What about you, Script Doctor? What do you think of Tenet? What do you think of Nolan possibly directing the next James Bond?
Well, he's wanted to do it since that got him into directing. His favorite movie is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So long as he is not one of the principal writers of the Bond film, I think it could be absolutely fantastic, because when Nolan doesn't have someone with a little bit more due diligence and creativity on his work, he gives us stuff like Tenet, which interesting movie, but so much of it does not. He doesn't sell the logic of how it works, because if they're moving backwards, well, guess what? The light that's entering your eye is escaping you, so you're blind. You can't see in a backwards world like Tenet, and you didn't. And he doesn't explore all the rules. I figured this out actually while watching The Dark Knight, because you cannot lift a fingerprint off of a fired bullet, because casing is what your thumb touches, and the casing is discharged from the gun, and the bullet goes into the wall. And even if it's shot, there's no thumbprint on it. And I'm a Canadian that has some decent knowledge about guns, but nowhere near the detail of your average American. And Nolan is doing this on a U.S. film with a lot of Americans on the crew, and no one brought it up. Like, hey, that's not how you can. I mean, he doesn't care. He doesn't do the research. He comes up with the idea and runs with that. And then when it falls apart, he ignores it.
Yeah, no, he does it. I mean, especially Dark Knight Rises, there's a lot of plot holes with that. But even if you look at The Dark Knight, which is beloved, and I love the film too.
I love it too.
But the scene where the Joker throws, what's her name? Rachel. Yeah. I was thinking the actress's name or trying to figure it out. But anyways, throws her out of the window. The Joker still has to go down,
building.
Yeah, Batman's there. He's there. So it's like we never cut to the next scene. We never explain. Now, if the Joker got away on the helicopter that dropped off Bruce Wayne, but that helicopter's gone. So he's still in the building. It's Die Hard now for the Joker.
Yeah,
like if you don't, but that's the thing where the movie moves at such a pace where it's like most people, and I didn't even think about it the first time I saw it, but afterwards I was like, wait a minute. Probably on the subsequent viewings where I'm like, yeah, he's still got to go downstairs. He came up in the elevator. He's got to go back down. How's he get out? How the hell does he get out of here?
Oh my goodness.
And it's a Wayne owned building. So like that's the other part too. He's in the Dragon's Den.
No, and that's
that's right.
Bush is saying like suspend some disbelief. And I do. Like I enjoy that movie. I love that movie.
I did too, yeah.
It's fine. There's things where it's like certain films where it's like, yeah, you allow a writer or director, whatever, you allow them those caveats or whatever, where it's just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. I can imagine something here. It's not a big deal. The only problem is when you continually do it, if you do it too many times in a film where you're asking the viewer to suspend their disbelief too much, then it's a problem.
Yeah, too many opportunities to, okay, you suspend your disbelief to this part. Now suspend it for this part. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works.
That's what happened with me with Tenet. And I think like for me with Christopher Nolan, and don't get me wrong, I really like a lot of Christopher Nolan films. Like I love Inception, I love Interstellar, I love Dark Knight, like I love a lot of the different Memento. I mean, he's done a lot of really, really good films that I really enjoy. It's just like with his newer stuff, I've been like, I don't like what he does with his sound thing. Like he's obsessed with this weird sound situation. And I'm like, and that was actually my main problem with Tenet, was that I couldn't hear the dialogue. I was like, okay, maybe
it doesn't matter, Nina. It will not help you.
No, that's what I was like. But that's what my impression was, John. I was like, maybe I would be interested and like wanting to keep up more with where you're going with it if I could actually hear your dialogue. Like it was like when you're straining yourself to want to like understand, to even like hear the characters, like that's the part that I'm like, at least make it easier for us to hear like the main dialogue.
It's never going to happen. He loves shooting on IMAX cameras. IMAX cameras are obscenely loud. And he doesn't like to do looping of audio. So
bizarre.
His sound mix is absolutely one of the most, and for some of the movies he's had that have had a higher budget, his sound mix is atrocious. It would never pass muster if he wasn't Christopher Nolan.
Oh my gosh.
People let it happen and slide. And
was it like the same way in Oppenheimer? John, you saw Oppenheimer, right?
No, I have not seen it yet.
I saw Oppenheimer. I thought it was a lot better because I'll say this. Oppenheimer is the most boring take you can have on Oppenheimer, but it's still kind of fascinating to see the way that he kind of cuts it together. And the performances are what saved that film, because I've seen A&E specials that are way more engaging and dramatic on Oppenheimer than Christopher Nolan.
Okay, but you and I have beef with you now because last night I watched the absolute worst movie I've seen in a long time. And Script Doctor was all, this is such a great movie, you got to watch it. And I was like, okay, great, let's watch this movie. John, did you happen to watch this movie?
No, well, you only gave me about 10 hours of notice.
And I'm sorry.
I was working, so it was like, that wasn't happening.
No, it's okay. But basically, long story short, the movie is called No One Will Save You.
No One Will Save You.
No One Will Save You. And it was garbage. Like, I mean, I was
Wow.
like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, where is Script Doctor's brain? Why would you think I would like this movie?
Let's get ready to rumble.
Well,
wow.
so
Nina,
one of the gimmicks of it is that there's almost no dialogue in this film.
Almost. I mean, I guess that's almost, but it's like 99% no dialogue.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
it's like watching a silent film in 2023. I was like, what the fuck? There's literally a total of maybe 6 words in the entire movie. I was like,
Something like that. It's because it's about a young woman who is ostracized in the town that she lives because a horrible event occurred when she was 11 years old.
mhm,
And then aliens invade, and she's trying to fight them off, and it has a very dark and disturbing ending. And you realize that this character is she's interesting, but she's not necessarily a good person,
mhm,
but she wants to be. And the
mhm.
only way she can be a good person and actually have a happy life is kind of teaming up with a species that is trying to take over humanity.
Well, I think that, I mean, I get what it was trying to do. It was just too artsy for me. Like, I feel like it was too try
Critics-
hard.
critics 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, audience score 58%.
I'm one of the 50% that fucking
And you know,
absolutely
that's
despise this movie.
I
was
can
like,
totally get that because not many people are expecting to see a horror survival film that
mhm.
has almost no dialogue and all the exposition is done through visuals.
Well, and like the thing with me is like I understand what they were trying to do, but to me, it's just unrealistic because when you're in a situation
But
where
it's
you're
a
by
movie,
yourself,
Nina. It's a movie.
shut up, John.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Okay, that's fine. But when you're like, okay, when you're by yourself, right? Like, and you're going through something really fucking traumatic, you're constantly talking to yourself. Like, you're gonna talk to yourself. Like, that is something that I think would have really been a benefit to this movie if the girl was talking to herself all the time. Like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna go here. What do I do? Like, what? Like, it's just, you need that like personal dialogue with yourself where you're going through an extreme event and something needs to be, you
But
need to process it.
to hear you. Like if it's just, like if there's aliens around, you wouldn't want to be talking probably.
But you would talk to yourself. You'd be like,
Yeah, but what if they're like really good at hearing and they can
Which-
hear you like whispering to yourself?
all they did, John, was
Oh
click.
my gosh, I think they're here.
Oh, the aliens, yeah, they
Can't say that.
okay, so like the aliens uses every gimmick in the book to try and make them scary.
It was so bad.
That part I'm like, okay, not winning me over, but what won me over to the point where I thought this is kind of a fascinating movie is it's like every scene is that intense fight scene or heist scene where you have to be very quiet because if you make a noise, they're gonna find you.
Yeah.
And
It was like very quiet place like in that sense. Like,
Mhm.
here's the thing, Script Doctor, I think this would have been a good movie if it was like a mini episode of something. Like if it was a 20-minute thing, I'd be like, okay, I'm into this. But for like an hour and a half, like
You
I
feel
don't
like it
know
was
how long this
stretched.
movie was.
Just stretched out.
It's just way too stressed out. I was like and it's like, okay, I don't hear any human dialogue, but I'm hearing this clicking alien sound for like 2 hours. I'm like, okay, this like this fucking weird clicking sound. I can't hear this anymore. I'd rather have dialogue than weird alien clicking. But that is that's just my perspective.
And you know what?
What?
That's a perfectly rational one too, because again, as I was saying, like people always expect movies to have some dialogue in it. You want to figure out
Mhm.
what's going on with this.
Mhm.
What we have here is we have something that it's trying to be. It's assuming more of the audience's intelligence kind of trying to dumb it down for you. It's trying to say, okay, look at this person. She's isolated alone. She builds a model of the town that she lives in because she can't go anywhere and nobody will talk to her. And when she does see someone, they'll spit in her face. And you're like, well, why is this happening? So it presents a mystery and then it answers that mystery. It doesn't leave you
Yeah.
hanging. You know exactly why the town is behaving this way.
Yeah,
And
and
we
we're trying
find-
not to spoil it for you, Johns,
Yeah.
just so in case
I just
you-
watched the
and people.
trailer.
But I mean,
Did you
the
hear the
trailer is pretty
clicking?
convincing. It's
I didn't watch with sound though.
But no, well, the other part too, what I liked about this is that we have a young woman who she has to use her wits and foresight to try and get out of things, as opposed to, like being Mila
Her
Jovovich in Resident
strength.
Evil, just
Yeah.
kicking ass, looking like a twig. Um,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
lot of desperation. She gets maimed essentially in this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
Like it's a big struggle for here. So it hits all the things when it comes to, well, what is a real strong female character like? It kind of nails this. That I think the one thing that is causing such a not a whole wide amount of people interested in it is, number one, it's not well marketed out there. It's only on Hulu, and number two,
No.
I think people were upset with it because subconsciously they wanted more. They wanted dialogue. They wanted to get some more intimacy when it comes to
I
the
did.
relationships with the characters. And because the
Yes.
movie holds that back from you,
Yes.
and you're probably thinking, I want more while you're watching it. That's kind
That's
of
what it was.
part of what directors and filmmakers want, is we want to give you something where you're constantly saying, I want more. However, finding that balance of saying, I want more because I like this versus I want more because I'm lost is hard to kind of
Mm.
nail. And I think on the criticism side of things, and I think it's 100% valid, I want to know more. I want more of this because I'm not getting enough, or I'm missing something, is perfectly valid. And that is a flaw. I'm like, I will totally
Mm.
acquiesce to. I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. It doesn't do that for you. For me, it did what I was looking for. It was like, okay, cool survivor thing, clever stuff, aliens with powers.
I
Just
think
once I
maybe
would like to
if
see an
I
alien
knew,
invasion. Mhm.
I think maybe if I knew going in that it was going to be a silent film, maybe I would have looked at it differently. But when I went into it and then like 10, 15 minutes passed by and there hasn't been any dialogue, I'm like sitting there going like, what the fuck is going on? And then there was this one point where she gets to the police officer or whatever, and then the guy just looks at her and goes, and I was like,
Oh man.
just fucking done. I was like, I'm so done with this right now. I started like fast forwarding it with 10 seconds just so I can see what happens in the end, because I was like, I need to know what happens, but this is ridiculous. Like, I'm done.
I will say the ending is disturbing.
It was disturbing. I think you would like it for that reason, John, because you're a weirdo and you like disturbing weird movies like Midsommar.
Why would you say that?
Because you like weird movies like
Well,
Midsommar and that
okay,
other weird movie.
Hereditary?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't
I
know
think
if
you
I'd
might
say
like this one.
okay. I can appreciate them. It's not like I
It's
love
dark.
them, but
it's
I can
dark.
appreciate them.
Okay. So I think you might appreciate the darkness of this. You'll be like, oh, this is really dark.
Maybe.
I will say,
Disturbed.
just once, I would like to see an alien invasion movie where the aliens aren't naked. They're always naked.
Hmm.
They're never wearing any clothes.
Like, why are they ever wearing any suits? That's true. It's like,
Only in Star Trek do aliens have clothes, and Star Wars to a degree. Do aliens wear clothes?
also the light in this movie made no sense. Like when they were like, doing the thing where they took the body and then you're like, well, how come the light doesn't work in like different parts of the house? Like they couldn't do that to her. Like, I mean, it would have been really freaking easy for them to do that to her. Anyways,
Oh, it was all line of sight stuff. So it didn't, if she was not in the, like it was going through the window, she was on the outside of it. And then you have that one scene where it goes through the window and it pins her.
they're intergalactic aliens and they have line of sight. Like, I mean, come on.
Well,
Like,
I think it comes to the fact that, yeah, you have to have line of sight for grabbing things. I mean, they didn't really have teleporters, which
they
would
should
have been
should have
crazy.
had teleporters. They should have had like, what's it called? The stuff you see through in the wall. What's it called? Like the heat. What is that? What's Superman
see.
got? Laser
Oh,
eyes,
X-ray vision.
X-ray vision, and all that.
Yep.
This dude. You got. Come on, they're aliens. Okay, one last entertainment topic before we move on.
Can we
And-
talk about Martin Scorsese though?
Sure.
What
What do you want to talk
Like
about?
he said we got to save movies from the superhero films.
Oh, didn't he say that a while ago?
He did, but I
Yep.
think he said it again, if I'm not
Okay.
He
mistaken.
elaborated more in regards to the fact that they're manufactured and they're not made by people with voices anymore. And that was his big contention. Because I
He's not
guarantee you,
wrong.
Martin Scorsese would probably look at the Superman the movie and the Dark Knight and say those are kind of cinema because there's something cinematic about them.
Yeah.
But then he would look at some of the output of Marvel recently and say, well, it's like a roller coaster. It's disposable. And that's his point of contention. And I agree with that. They are disposable. And where are we going to get the interesting movies that say something these days, right?
Yeah. And now you have these big films like the superhero movies that are overtaking movie theaters, and studios are placing their big bets on these films. And you just don't see the mid-budget films like you used to.
Nope.
No, you
They're a
don't.
thing of the past.
And
Well,
I'm
they might be
guessing this
coming
is what
back
you were.
now.
I'm guessing this is what you were talking about. Martin Scorsese is to fight back against comic book movie culture by supporting directors like Christopher Nolan. We've got to save cinema.
Yeah, this was my whole idea of like, let's just tear the whole system down and start over. Like, let's have a revolution in terms of entertainment.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing to do because when you
Sure.
take a look at a lot of other revolutions outside of entertainment, what replaces it is not always better than what
Right. No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And yeah, even the idea of like, I don't like the idea of revolutions even within government, because it's,
It's
it can be
never
more destabilizing than anything.
I'm an
So-
Iranian.
Yeah. I mean, what you can argue is that the comic book movies, the way they're done now, was an attempted revolution of cinema, and Martin Scorsese is trying to push back against that because it's not doing what it needed, they thought it was going to do. It's resulted in inflated film budgets, box office that's only successful if it crosses $1 billion globally, which is not an attainable aspect. I mean, listen, you look at the pantheon of films from 1900 to now. You literally have a drop in the water of good movies compared to all the crap that is made out in an attempt to try and entertain people. I mean, the ratio is always going to be worse.
It's always been that way, right?
It has always been that way. It will always be that way.
Yeah.
But what is fascinating about it is that when you have a really good movie, it really does stand out. And you are able to get those household names, as opposed to if every movie was great, there'd be so many names we wouldn't be able to actually identify anybody in the industry because everybody would know everybody. It'd be like going to high school and you're like, who stands out? Well, only the popular people. Right. But if everybody's popular, who stands out? Nobody. And you got this equity type of thing in relationship, which doesn't really work because it's creepy and it's Orwellian. But right now, it's like you would never have a Martin Scorsese if all the other movies made around the stuff he made were as good, if not better.
Yeah.
And that's the point he's trying to make, is you're not going to have these people that stand out above it if the studios are leaning so much into these, first and foremost, adapting IPs that they purchase, books and comic books and other things. And then on top of that, hiring young, hungry, potentially good filmmakers across the spectrum of actors, writers, directors, and then basically making them puppets of the studio in a relationship that has not been done ever before, and thus you're crippling their potential to be the next Christopher Nolan, the next Martin Scorsese, the next Francis Ford Coppola. Because where are they? They come out of indie, but there's been such a weird wall placed between the studio system and indie over the last 8 to 10 years that we're not seeing those new voices.
Yeah.
I mean, Christopher Nolan
so
is the only director that's kind of considered of that
OG
caliber.
indie.
Of that caliber, that's not just from OG indie, but of the caliber that you can say, yeah, if I'm going to talk about Francis Ford Coppola, I'm going to talk about Stanley Kubrick, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese. Nobody's going to bat an eye to any of those names being mentioned together in a room. But the thing is, where's the other names? Yeah. There's no one else out there.
You can make an argument that comparable names, of course, are like, Denis Villeneuve is, I think, probably one of the top directors, obviously Christopher Nolan of this day, but in my mind, I would love to see, I think it would be just an awesome thing if you saw theaters. Well, if you saw studios taking bigger gambles on lower budget films, putting them in theaters, and obviously, if they had as much faith and confidence in those type of films, they would be doing that, but they don't. But we need some kind of, you see it bringing it to YouTube realm. If you notice, and all of you here watch YouTube, or you're on YouTube, now they have at least one slot when you pull up on the recommendations feed of YouTube. There's one slot that has a channel that is not, basically they have barely any subscribers. and it's
Yeah.
killing. Like in some ways, it's hurting some of bigger channels in some ways. But what YouTube is trying to do is they're trying to give an opportunity to, smaller channels out there to show up on your. This is why, like, I'll see on my feed, I'll see videos that have like 53 views or something insanely low like that. YouTube is really making an effort to put creators out there that don't have a lot of subscribers on the recommended feed or on the recommended page. So
That's really interesting because I haven't really seen anything like that on mine. But also I think it's interesting because there might be a big push for a lot of people to go on Rumble now. And so maybe YouTube's like, oh my God, we need people to stay. So maybe they're trying to do something like, is that?
see,
maybe that's where
I
it's hot?
literally pulled up my feed right now. I have a video that has 66 views on it on my recommended feed. 66 views. I've never seen that happen before, but it's been going on for quite some time.
That's
But
interesting.
Yeah.
But YouTube is trying, basically smaller creators have been saying like,
Yeah,
help
where's
us
the
out here.
love?
Yeah,
Where's
help
the
us out here.
love?
I
It's
would
true.
say create better videos. But with that said, I get it. I also understand it too. So I think there needs to be given some opportunity for the potential future Christopher Nolan's, or rather Steven Spielberg, Stanley Kubrick's, et cetera, to get their name out there, because that opportunity does seem like it has diminished quite a bit since before in the 70s, especially when you had exploitation films and lower budget films actually making it in the theaters.
Yeah. That's the other part too. So a lot of the decision makers of that, they are between the ages of 20 and 30. They don't have much imagination. They are straight out of business school, and they look at it from an analytical stake as opposed to, hey, man, if I was an audience
Sure.
member, what would I want to go see in a movie theater? And that's the divide. And that's why we're not getting the auteurs or even just the potentially good directors anymore. I mean, we had Colin Trevorrow, who was starting out strong with Safety Not Guaranteed, and Disney snatched him up to do not
Jurassic
Disney,
World.
and then he was snatched up to do Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
holy crap. Yeah, it did catapult him to a name, but at the same time, where is he now? He's not delivering because, number one, he couldn't work well with some of the other studios, and he was also trying to do the old school route, which is make a name for himself so that he can pick and choose what he wants to make. And the studio system has been very antithetical to that, to the point where, like, you're a director, you can actually get a movie made and out. Great, you work for me now. Do what I want and get it out. Don't care about your voice. I don't care about the type of style you're using. I'm hiring you to do a job. Where beforehand it was like, no, we're working together to create a product to make us hopefully a lot of money and also entertain our audience. That mentality is kind of faded into the background with a number of the younger execs. And that's why I think we got a big generation gap with the veterans who are still around, who do pick some interesting concepts in films that they put out there, which don't get as much attention as the Disney movies. And then we have a bunch of up and comers right now who are probably just going to be stuck on YouTube and Rumble for another 5 to 10 years, trying to make their own name so that when they do release something, whether it be on theatrical, through the studio system, or through another streaming system, they'll be able to make a name and build an audience for themselves so that they can actually, have fun doing this and contributing to all our content and entertainment value.
So, Script
sense.
Doctor, I got a serious question for you. Did you get a new
Sure.
microphone?
I'm sorry?
Did you get a new microphone? You sound awesome.
Not in a long
No,
while.
it's been a while since we talked. You sound completely different. You sound like you got a new microphone.
I did get some microphone software update.
Oh, there you go.
You sound great, Script
Yeah.
Doctor. That's true. You do.
Sound good.
Hi, Comics Division.
What's up,
How
Comics?
are you?
I'm good. I'm doing
Good.
fantastic, and it's good to see you, Script Doctor. It's been a while.
Good to see you too, sir. I'm not usually up this late, but I haven't been sleeping well since Friday, so I'm on a whole new schedule. So I'm happy to be here with you. I've never seen you this close to your camera before.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I actually have it in camera mode because if I switch it back over to manual, it will do the wider.
The widescreen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's like here. Let me just kind of demonstrate. If I do this, nope. Exit out of menu now. Here we go. Oh, what the fuck?
So are you shooting? Are you shooting out your DSLR?
Yeah.
Obviously you are, right? That's a Canon.
Yeah, it's Canon. It's
Okay.
a N50.
Are you using a D-Link?
I'm running it through the Elgato Cam Link.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have funny enough, this is my old one. I got a new one. And the one I'm using now is the Mark II. I upgraded the firmware on this camera and it fucked everything up, which was a huge mistake. But so far, like all the issues I had with my camera beforehand, not having with this one, which is fantastic.
Is that
Can't
a
you reset it to
24?
default?
Is that a 24 millimeter lens? Or what are you shooting?
Same lens as this one. Let me see. Let me take the glasses off because I'm fucking blind. Yeah, it is a 15 to 45 millimeter lens. And it's basically the exact same lens as on this camera. It's
Fascinating discussion on camera usage today on Infinite Talk. This is
technology,
amazing.
folks. That's
Yeah,
what
the
we're going to talk
three-
about. And
the
for
three
the
people-
audience.
Yeah, the three people interested in cameras will enjoy that.
Oh my god. But okay, so we were discussing superheroes. Well, we discussed a writer's strike and Script Doctor kind of gave us a lowdown about what the differences are now. We went into Christopher Nolan possibly directing Bond, and now then John brought up Scorsese talking about superhero culture, like having to, just it's completely taken over. And speaking of superhero culture, there was superhero news today with James Gunn stating that the following actors return to the DCU: John Cena as Peacemaker, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and Zolo Mariduena as a Blue Beetle.
You mean the guy
is
nobody
in
cares
there.
about?
Yeah.
The guy who people love in Cobra Kai.
Yeah, he's great in Cobra
The
Kai.
Cobra Kai
but,
guy. Now no one can answer me this though. And obviously I'm pretty sure his wife is gonna be still back too, because she's part of Peacemaker.
yeah, she's gonna be back. Yeah.
Look, no one can answer me why this man had it out for Henry Cavill. Because
He doesn't.
I think Gal Gadot is also back. She wasn't listed here, but I'm pretty sure she's back.
I have heard the opposite. I have heard that she was hoping to be back, and they're not bringing her back, not as Wonder Woman.
Really? Because I heard
Really?
she's coming back. That's the
She
last I
said
heard.
she thinks she's coming back, but I've heard enough statements around saying that they talked with her, but they made no promises and they've signed no contracts or deals for her to come back as Wonder Woman. She might be another character in the DCU.
But not
The same
Wonder
with James Gunn's wife. We don't know yet. I think that that these types of casting choices to retain is going to be a little odd, because they're going to be saying, well, are they going to visually look the same as how we saw them initially in their debut, or are they going to be revamped? And if they're revamped, that might allow for a little bit of disassociation to the previous films. But if they're not revamped and they look the same, then you've got this bleed over to the point where, okay, it's not. Why are you doing this? Why does it still look the same, even though it's now supposedly different? I think that's
DC's
gonna
always
cause
had that
confusion.
problem though.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, it's like, I think part of the issue that we're seeing with DC, because all the movies have done poorly, it's a dead universe. It's I think going to slightly confuse the audience. It's like, why is Henry Cavill back? Not back, excuse me, but the kid that plays Blue Beetle is.
Yeah,
It's like, it's fucking wipe the slate clean if you're going to wipe the slate clean.
Exactly. If you're gonna wipe it clean, then wipe it
Start
clean.
over.
Like none of
Yeah.
these people should be back. Like none of any of
Viola
the
Davis was
old DC
great
stuff.
as Amanda Waller. I mean,
She's too thin for the role, though.
yeah, you're right. Amanda Waller is much bigger. But I thought she did a solid job as Amanda Waller. Good. I thought she was a good pick.
I did too.
Yeah, Henry
But I
Cavill.
still think she should be gone.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree with you. But if they're gonna fucking wipe the slate clean, just do it.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing
that's
to
how I
also
feel about it.
consider is there are still contracts that have already been kind of pre-sold for John Cena's Peacemaker season 2 and Amanda Waller's Spy show. And those were scheduled prior to the strike. They were scheduled to be released in 2024.
What? They're actually doing a movie that's centered around Amanda Waller?
No, a
They're
television,
doing
a streaming series,
Oh my God, that's
which has
ridiculous.
already been written and is apparently good to go. Now, this is my
Isn't it called
theory.
Waller? I think it's
Yeah, it's
called.
called
Yeah,
Waller
I think I vaguely remember that. I mean, the issue with Waller is that she's a great side character, but she's not somebody I want to see as the main character. It's like the same thing with Nick Fury to a degree.
Yeah,
And in sort of a way, she is the
They're great
DC Nick
side
Fury.
characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
More
great
evil,
side
but yeah.
characters. Yeah, more evil, but yeah, she's kind of the DC. Nick
But I
Fury.
mean, like it's like you like Waller because you want to watch the Suicide Squad, and she's
yeah,
basically
and
got
do
them by
horrible
the
things to them.
Yeah,
Yeah, because she's
exactly, like-
fucking cutthroat.
exactly like you don't want to watch like Waller's show. You want to watch Suicide Squad, and Waller's a part of it. Like you know
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing. It's the same thing with like Nick Fury. It's like okay, I want to watch the Avengers, and Nick Fury is part of the Avengers. Like nobody gives a shit
It's like
about.
it's like doing a show about Alfred and not having Batman in it. That's crazy, right?
yeah, Bruno
Right?
Heller. Yeah, oh God. I mean, listen, you can do a show about Alfred without Batman, but he has to be a spy and he has to be doing fun adventures and things with
Oh my god!
like you got to make it like make sense. They didn't. They just made him. Oh, he's a private detective in SAS or UK. It's like Jesus, Bruno Heller. You already did a Batman show without Batman in Gotham.
Gotham.
Now you're doing
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like Gotham.
and you're doing nothing with it.
Mhm.
But with this one here, I have this theory, and it's only because certain deals were made, contracts were done, money's been paid out, and I suspect that what they're doing is they're going to do a season 2 of Peacemaker to wrap up that, and John Cena is not going to be there anymore because also John Cena has lost a good like 40 pounds. He's not as huge as
Really?
he was recently. He slimmed
What
down a
happened?
little bit. I think he's just like changing his body shape
Oh, okay.
because I guess he has to eat like a ton of protein in order to maintain that size, and also probably a bunch of other drugs. And as for Amanda Waller, I think that's kind of a show that's being run down. I think whatever those styles are, those were things that were greenlit prior to Zaslav's decision to do the hard reset. Because again, in the very few interviews that James Gunn has made, he has said definitively that Superman Legacy is going to be the start of the new DCU.
Yeah, he
And
has.
the Peacemaker and Waller shows were scheduled to debut before that starts. So this could be like a wrapping up aspect of things on the
Could
TV
be.
side of stuff, possibly. It would be very smart if that's what he is doing, but of course he's not going to tip his
If
hat
that's
to do
true,
that.
why is Blue Beetle involved? Because Blue Beetle was like the last of the hurrah. Of the
Nobody gave a
DC,
shit about that
and
movie.
nobody gave a fucking shit about it. So why is Blue Beetle involved in this new series situation? I
Well,
don't
I think they're
he
just
should be.
keeping the actor, and they're probably going to revamp him because people.
But it says as Blue Beetle.
Yeah, as Blue Beetle. But Zolo is a rising star. People fell in
That's
love
true,
with
he
him
is a
on
rising
Cobra Kai. This is his first feature film debut. He was robbed in the sense because they got a director and a writer who has never dealt with sci-fi or action adventure before. The type of stuff they did was basically border crossing crime and drug trafficking crime. And it's like
Oh
you
my
don't get those
God.
Yeah,
types of
that's
voices
exactly
for
what it
a
was.
superhero movie about family. And although they did nail a couple of aspects with regards to the immigrant family from, a Latino immigrant family, they also missed a lot, which is why this movie didn't perform. It's like you have a dad who's trying to support his family who just suffered a heart attack, and you don't show us him working at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
what
my
the hell?
God.
He's sitting in a yard. He like, what the heck is this? Is not. No one believes that. He's like, he would be working his butt off trying to save his home, and his wife would
He
be
would.
on his butt saying, "You got to
Mhm.
take it easy because of your heart."
Yep.
And he'd be like, I can't, because I have to take care of you. And they would have that dynamic. That wasn't there at all. They botched that.
They
They dropped the ball.
did.
Saved the movie.
They basically built that movie on Mexican stereotypes, which I thought was kind of offensive, to be honest.
Yes.
I still haven't watched it, but I kind of
It's
want to
bad.
just to see
Don't-
how
I-
many Mexican stereotypes there is in it.
It's a lot, dude. George Lopez, he has a truck named the Taco.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And it's tricked out.
yeah, it's tricked out. I mean,
Oh my God.
yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, there you go.
The
That's
first 15
that's
minutes of the movie, they're eating breakfast tacos, and it's like, not that there's a problem with that, but it's like they really leaned into a lot of the stereotypes, and it's
There's
like
that usually happens when like the Hollywood makes movies about cultures that they don't really understand.
But the
like,
guy's
what's
actually
going
from
on.
Mexico. The director's from Mexico.
So is the writer. Like they're all
Yeah,
from
it's like
from Mexico. They leaned into it out of
Well,
a
they
low
think
hanging fruit.
I guess they think that that's what white people want to see. Like I'm not really sure. Like
Maybe.
I don't
Maybe
know.
there was like some white producer was like, "Hey, could you throw some tacos in there, maybe?"
like some
Well,
we need more
it's-
tacos.
the funny thing is, I was making fun of it because like last year they really leaned into the Mexican American Heritage Month,
Mhm.
and they did all these like really awful, kind of like
I remember.
stereotypes. It's like you had the blue beetle with a bag of no, he's eating a burrito. You have
There's something with hot tamales or something.
yeah,
like
it
that.
was Kyle
Yeah.
Rayner with a bag of tamales and the Mexican flag that says "Viva la Mexico."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just
I
like,
remember.
God,
That
it was
so bad.
it was
Desperate.
serious cringe. It's like, did you hire a bunch of white guys that don't understand Hispanic culture to make a movie about Hispanics? Oh wait, these guys are Hispanic. Never mind.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and basic, and you know what? They did the one thing, the biggest problem, which is coming from the younger generation, is they're doing the low hanging fruit stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Mm.
I would have been great to write a Blue Beetle film. They would have never given it to me just because of my appearance. But the one thing I would have done is be like, listen, if I'm going to do a father-son relationship as a core, I'm going to, and they say your order is the dad has suffered a heart attack. He's going to lose the house and he's lost his business. It's like, great. I know exactly what to do here.
Yep.
Not just because I've worked with a bunch of people from Mexico and stuff in various jobs, especially at my publishing company, a 72-year-old Mexican guy who had 2 other jobs. Wonderful person. I haven't seen him since the lockdown kind of ended, but that guy worked all the way through. I'd be like, I'm basing the father off that guy. And I'm basically
Aw.
going to have him and Jaime. They're going to be doing every job. Yes, they'll go to the Home Depot trying to find construction work. They don't care. They're just trying to save their home, and they do everything they can. They'll work on engine parts for a neighbor because the shop is done and they don't want to be ripped off by the mechanic down the road. They'll be doing everything, and they'll be teaching him about the value of hard work. And that's it. Instead, what they do is they're like, yeah, your family makes you weak. Well, where the hell did that come from, bad guy? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, not only that. Well, it's like, he's like, oh, I don't want to kill anyone, and his family's like literally murdering all these troops. And it's just like
they also make him. He's a law degree student. Or a law degree graduate, and he does nothing in order to look for like legal work or legal clerking stuff. Like, listen, even if an internship he would be doing, in addition to helping his dad trying to make money, because it's like, I went to school, I have the skills for this, explore it. They're like, nope, he's a law graduate. And what do we see him next do? Yeah, he's working at a resort. And he's not even trying or pursuing, or even he's not even bringing up any of his legal knowledge to try and get him out of his issues.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that you wasted all these elements that are normally in a movie and utilize. It's like Tony Stark, he's told, yeah, he's an inventor, and he never invents anything throughout the rest of Iron Man. Like, it's just dumb. But I mean,
I guess
listen,
that's why
I'm hoping in the
Scorsese's pissed. Like,
well,
until
I
we
mean,
have some
I'll be
good
honest with you.
movies.
I think he's right, because a lot of it is that, basically superhero movies have become the fast food of movies.
It's
Yeah.
true. They have.
Except it's
And they're
really expensive fast food.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's expensive fast food.
Expensive.
Super
fast food.
expensive.
I'm hoping
And it
in
has
November
no
to get down there and
nutrients.
find out.
There's nothing. There's
Yeah,
nothing
exactly.
there.
It has no nutrients. And,
Very empty calories. Yeah.
yeah, it's empty calories. It's basically
Disposable.
junk food for the brain. And I used to love the Marvel movies. I fucking hate them now because of how
Same.
dumb they are.
Yeah. I mean,
And
they used to have some substance. Now
Yeah,
it's like
they did.
The good
zero
ones still
substance.
hold up. You can watch
Yeah.
Winter Soldier and Captain
Yeah.
America and
Definitely.
Iron Man and get what
The
was
older
intended out
ones.
of them.
Mhm.
It lasts. It's the fact that they forgot that aspect.
I mean, even Blade. Like, dude, I recently watched Blade, and that's a
Blade's a
superhero movie by
fucking
all
fantastic
means. But it
movie.
was so good. Like, it's so like, especially Blade 1, like the original is just so like thinky, makes you think about a lot of stuff. It has a lot of ideas. Like, it's not just like Blade. Oh, he's just like a day walker.
Well, it's a lot of
blah, blah, blah.
unnecessary F-bombs, but yeah.
Mhm.
That's the thing. My
That's
first
true.
introduction to Blade was in the Spider-Man cartoon series, and I thought he was badass. And then I see
too.
the movie, I'm like, man, why they didn't have to make this rated R. I mean, it's only R for the language. Like, I know some people want to argue the blood and the violence.
Well,
It's like,
no,
no,
the-
you can
the
get away with a
violence.
lot in PG-13 in the late 90s back then, and even today. But it was really
I
just
love
all
that
the action
episode.
after.
I remember that script doctor. It was so good. Like, that was
Yeah.
my introduction to Blade too.
I mean, well, that's the other part too. There's a desire, especially on the audience side of things, that they want more edge in their superhero content. And it's like the edge is not the selling point. And the fact that you've had Warner Brothers for the last 30 years keep on trying to make that edge or that darker take be the selling point instead of just telling
it's
a
like
really good story.
you can do it with certain things, right? I mean, Spawn is an edgy character. You can do edge with Spawn. But you can't do edge with Superman or Batman. Well, you can with Batman to a degree, but or Spider-Man or Captain America.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's where
with Batman. The
Webb...
irony is the fact that he appears edgy, but he's actually a very wholesome Boy Scout character who just he's like. If I'm
that's why I said to a degree.
Yeah, I'm not entertaining. Yeah. I'm not going to entertain the criminal that I'm trying to interrogate because there's urgency. But when I talk to James Gordon or I talk to Alfred, I'm a nice guy. I'm a person that you would actually trust and talk to. Or when he picks up, when he rescues a kid, he's not trying to scare them. Like that's the mentality. So many people keep on thinking, no, he's got this one-dimensional thing where he's gruesome and crazy and obsessive. And it's like he would never be able to interact with people that aren't criminals and be treated like Batman if that was the case.
Well, I mean, Batman the animated series is a perfectly good example of what you're talking about.
And you know what? All those stories come from not the Golden Age, not the Silver Age, but the Bronze Age of Batman, which is the pinnacle Batman. And we haven't seen that in live action because they keep going to post Bronze Age, which is Frank Miller and all of the other some Scott Snyder stuff. And it's like, okay, you're giving us Punisher Batman.
Yeah, that's not Batman.
Yeah. Sorry, John, I interrupted you there. I apologize.
Yeah, John, did you want to say something about this discussion?
No, that's what I was going to say. Well, in terms of Spider-Man, that's where I think Mark Webb's Amazing Spider-Man didn't quite hit the mark, especially the first film. It went a little bit darker with the Spider-Man character, which, I mean, if you read the comics, I mean, Spider-Man is a tragic character. I mean, you could make an argument that Spider-Man is actually more of a tragic character than Batman. Because Bruce Wayne,
he's tragic, but he's not a dark character.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, well, there's different iterations in different time periods where, but I agree with you. I would agree with you, basically 99% that he's not that character. If you go down to the roots, but again, right at the very root, he is kind of responsible for the death of his uncle. Which
100%.
Is a very, in my opinion, in some ways, it is a darker element than even Batman. But overall, for the character, it just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work if you try to take him into, an overly dark place.
Well, the thing is that with Batman, it's a man who has been victimized, who refuses to be a victim and be a solution to a problem. With Spider-Man, it's a guy who's trying to figure out how to live as an adult with these responsibilities, and he trips constantly because as smart as he is in the books, when it comes to his social understanding of humanity and things, he's always a step or two behind. And he is a tragic hero where Batman is actually more of like a victorious hero. He weaponizes the darkness that is being used to hurt others to basically create a stopgap between the corrupt and the innocent. And I mean, I know a lot of people like to criticize the Adam West Batman for being campy, but like he embodies the wholesome spirit of what Batman is, just without the whole gruesome, I'm going to interrogate you and scare the crap out of you criminal. One of the things that's always endearing about Batman is he doesn't want to just beat up criminals. He actually kind of thinks that's the last resort. He wants to reform them. He wants to give them an opportunity to actually turn themselves in, stop what they're doing, and pursue another direction. But he doesn't always do that in a very wholesome, compassionate way. He kind of wants to kind of scare them straight in his own method. And we don't, and we haven't been getting that in the live action interpretations of the character. Yeah. But I mean, one of the things that's most common, not just in Batman, but also in the animated series and a lot of the comic books, is the moment he faces off with Joker, the first thing he usually says is, Joker, stop, turn yourself in.
Yep.
He doesn't just go in for the punch and starts beating the crap out of him. Of course, recently now in comics he does. But beforehand, it was like, I'm a detective. I'm not a brute. I'm here to solve a crime and also stop you from doing something that you might regret if you have a conscience.
That's the thing, is the fact that that's the one thing we've never seen on screen is Batman being a detective. Other than the fact that Batman the animated series did that very well, but when it comes to the silver screen, though, we've never seen it, and that's something I know a lot of people want to say.
You get hints of it in Nolan's Batman. I mean,
you get a hint of it in
a little bit.
You got hints
yeah.
of it in Pattinson's.
That's what I was
think
gonna
that
say.
was the big
Pattinson
Yeah,
one.
but
was probably
they
more
need to do
so.
a proper detective story with Batman. Make
Agreed.
it. You don't have to
mystery.
have an inflated budget.
Yep.
I mean, just look at what they did with the animated series and adapt something of that vein. You don't have to go
Yeah.
and copy a story and make it live action. Come up with your own story and basically do it in the vein of him break into a building, looking for evidence, being a detective, and you don't have to have all the fucking whacked out gadgets too, like in the
just
Arkham
basic
series.
stuff.
Yeah, just
Mhm.
basic stuff. The guy being a detective,
They don't call him
yeah,
the
it
world's
was really
greatest
good.
detective for nothing.
or no, for no
Exactly.
fucking reason.
And the other part
We-
too is give us a mystery, like make us engaged. Like what is happening? Let us figure it out along with them. That's what I liked about the show Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you didn't read the novels, you were actually quite lost with regards to what the mystery is until the very end, and it all comes together, and you're really satisfied. It's like that's what you should be doing for Batman, but you jazz it up a little bit with a couple of fights and maybe a tumultuous death trap or something.
You know what's
that's
funny,
where like
script
the
doctors?
Riddler
I
comes in as
disagree.
what's that?
Yeah.
I disagree with you, script doctor, on that one because I mean I read the novels and I watched like the first couple of episodes of Sherlock and I was like, I can't stand this. I thought it was so fucking terrible. I was like, because I don't like the idea of it being in the new era. Like I was like, the
I get
Sherlock
you, yeah.
Holmes is a period piece. Like if you're not gonna do like this whole like it being in like the edgy like 2020 era thing, I was like, I'm not down. But if it was gonna be in like its own era, then it would have been great. Because they literally took passages out of the book to like put the like the dialogue was amazing. Like they actually took stuff from the book to do it. But it was I just don't like everything's gotta be like new now. It's like, no, we can have period pieces to have
Well, it's cheaper to set it in modern times. I
Of
mean, you had a
course.
show like
Did it.
Elementary, which was basically another Sherlock Holmes type story with
Lucy
Sick
Liu,
Boy.
right?
Yeah, Lucy Liu and the actor who played Sick Boy in Trainspotting.
Oh, I never
And-
saw that one.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was good for what it was. I thought it was kind of interesting, but it would be nice to see an actual Sherlock Holmes,
Sherlock, yeah.
you know,
would be
set
really cool.
during the Sherlock
During
Holmes
that
period.
time. Yeah.
Well, they
That's
did
one of the
that for
reasons
the
it's
last
really
season.
good. Hmm?
They did that in their last season with one of the Sherlock Holmes's hallucinations. They did a
Oh.
period piece of it because they could afford to do it. Again, it was a BBC production. They had some money, but not enough. In fact, they basically said, well, we want to do multiple episodes adapting the books. We want to make it a period piece. BBC said, we'll give you this much money. And they're like, well, if we want to do this right, we can only do three or four episodes. And if we're going to have to modernize it so that we can actually save money to make sure we can do the 3 or 4 episodes because they did not get much of anything.
The
to make it.
modernization's killing me, man. I'm so
It
over
is.
the modernization.
It's so much cheaper just to go out on to a regular location and then just set up your cameras and shoot than it is to construct a set or try and
So true.
rebuild certain parts of London, which has definitely been modernized over the last decade or so.
Well, and that's
to
why
try and look like
Scorsese's
something
saying
from
film is a lost
180
art.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is like this because that all goes into it's not just writing, it's like design.
Well, it's the inflated
costumes,
budgets
like
too, right? I mean, that's a huge thing. And that's a Marvel problem too, or fuck, just a Disney problem
It's
in
Disney
general.
problem. All the other
Disney
studios
problem.
are fine on the budget side of things.
Well, I
Disney's
mean,
going
with
crazy.
you could say that DC kind of fucked that up too, because Flash being one of the most expensive movies ever made.
But that's a roll in from the fact they announced it in 2015 and been spending money ever since. It was the same issue that they had with Superman Returns.
It's true.
That was rolled in from that. But the other part too is they had to throw some good money after bad because those two movies started under a different regime. Zaslav took over and basically like a guy who's under new management of a store. He's like, I got to get rid of this junk as quickly as possible so I can clear up that shelf space for something new.
No, I get that, but
that's what really inflated it. As a result of it, it was done as a byproduct of bad decisions. Whereas with Disney, they're kind of
throwing money,
throwing money at it at the start, and then just keep spending more and more. Like that's the biggest problem. Because name me a Sony movie that cost $300 million to make, or a Paramount movie that cost $300 million.
Well,
to make
and
Tom Cruise,
constraint is the mother of invention too. I mean, it's just that was like the great thing about like the props departments and creating like sets and designs and stuff like that is that you're constrained by a budget. And you have to figure out how to do things. And one thing I always thought was really neat was how they used to build these tiny models and they would set them really close to the camera and the camera would like look through it. And basically it looks like they basically set up like this giant thing, but it's
like
not.
OG Star Trek. Like that's
Well,
what
not
they
just
used to do
OG
with Ronald.
Star Trek,
Star Wars, too.
Aliens. They did the
Star
same
Wars,
thing.
yeah,
Aliens,
Aliens,
yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they-
Okay.
that was movie magic.
They were
Yes. So
creative,
much.
like a
So
lot more
good.
creative, and that's the thing that CGI presents. It's like, oh well, here we could just throw money at the problem. Whereas, like, well, if you take it from a creative angle, do you really need to be spending as much money as you are? Like, you look
Well,
at
I
Kathleen
think
Kennedy.
a lot of it's waste because District 9, in my opinion, is probably one of the best CG movies ever
Incredible.
made. That was made
Yeah.
over like a decade now.
Yeah.
Yep. It holds up just as well as Forrest Gump does for a lot
Oh.
of their stuff. And you'd be surprised how much digital compositing and CG is used in that film that isn't just Tom Hanks being inserted into old news
Mhm.
video footage of the White House or something.
Hmm.
Like a lot of the stuff in Vietnam was completely digital composites and CG. And it's done so well that you don't notice. And I think it
Yeah,
comes to
that
the
was
fact
done
that
so well at the time.
when it's
I
done
mean, it still holds up.
sparingly, it's hard for you to pick up. But when it's done all the time, you can't help but see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When everything's shot in a volume, everything just looks fake.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, they haven't been
look
doing
at
the
anything
volume right
Marvel.
because I've been talking to directors about the volume, and they're like, yes, even the people at Disney, they don't know how to shoot with that stuff. They're using it for way too much things. It's supposed to be a background substitute, and it provides light and change on your actors. They're using it for everything
For
else. And
everything,
it's like
yeah.
that's not how it works. Like if you want to do something inside of a car on the volume, it's a great thing to make it look like you're on a highway or out on a dirt road.
No, that makes
Mhm.
sense, right? Like
And
how they
that
used to
makes sense.
do, like I guess it was like the rollers where it made it look like they were driving.
Oh yeah. They put it on a lift, and
Yeah.
then they actually can make it look like it's driving. And then they have got, and then you have the old school, which is basically a large, essentially like a projector screen of sorts.
Yeah, that's right.
Where
The
it's either got
projection
a
screen.
painted background
Yeah.
on it, or someone's
the
projecting an
background.
image onto the
Yeah.
background, and then they fix it up in post. Now the volume kind of does that, but they don't do it properly. Like if you saw the recent Ahsoka show, you got Rosario Dawson trying to pilot the ship, but it's such an extreme close up that you can't see how she's moving in directions behind her, and she looks ridiculous at it. And then when they do the wide shot, which is all digital effects, it's not actually in camera, but they shot that on the volume. So you just wasted all this money to get your actor in this little tiny thing on a volume set, and you're not even using it in your shot. And the idea of the volume is that the volume is going to respond. You can make the volume respond to a steering wheel in a car. So it's
Right.
programmed in there. So if you make a right-hand turn, the volume is going to adjust that you've done a right-hand turn, and it's all going to be in camera, and it's going to be very convincing. That's a good advantage to it, but none of the directors that are using it on the Disney side are taking advantage of it in that way. You're wasting it. You're using it just as you would a projector screen or any of the other backgrounds, and it's just an abuse. You're not having fun with it. And then on top of that, sometimes they do the plates where they don't sync up the background movement with what's actually happening on camera. So there's that famous scene in season 2 of The Mandalorian where they're on top of the of some sort of freighter, and they're in the forest, and it looks like the forest isn't really moving. But they got wind and they got stuff going on where it's like, oh yeah, they're going really fast, but the background is too slow for what's happening in the foreground. And it's like, that's completely out of sync. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, if I was like on the set there, I'm not much of a director, but I definitely have all the ideas that I could work with a director and be like, we could do so much really fun stuff with this stuff that's never been done before on camera or in camera and save us a ton of money. But instead, you've got boring things happening with it.
Well, one of the things I remember was that first G.I. Joe movie that came out in the 2010s, and I didn't realize how much of that was actually shot on a green screen.
Yeah,
until I saw, and that movie is awful. I hate that movie. It's like when the first
I've never
movie's
seen it.
You're
wasted
fortunate.
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, it is the first movie I actually wanted to walk out of. It was so awful. But yeah, and I saw some of the behind the scenes stuff. And it's like, wow, they were supposed to be like running down the streets of Paris. I'm like, oh, wow, they shot that on location in Paris. And it's like, oh, no, they use Google Maps to create Paris.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to read this Rumble rant here, and then we're going to go over to Rumble to have the next bit of discussion, because we actually haven't gotten to like the main topics, and it's been 2 hours of talking already, which is the Canadian Yahtzee stuff.
God,
and
shit's
also
hilarious.
Mar-a-Lago and Trump. So real quick though, thank you for the Rumble rant. Just the tip 59 saying, waiting for the Yahtzee Canadian talk. Well, we're going to be doing that next. That is what is happening. So thank you for that, for $20 to say that. Thank you so much. And also, before we leave YouTube, I wanted to kind of, well, first of all, we all have a friend. His name is Raging Rhino, and him and his family are going through a really difficult time right now. So I wanted to kind of give a shout out to him. First of all, he has a great channel. So if you're thinking about wanting to watch Star Wars stuff, definitely give him a try. Raging Rhino talks about Star Wars stuff. And right now he's going through a difficult time because his sister her cancer is back.
Oh
So
shit.
they're trying to raise money for her treatment because apparently it's been caught early. So earlier today, he put out this tweet saying, "Hey guys, my sister is on the second attempt to beat cancer. As she's caught it early, spirits are high that she can beat it again, but she does need some help with the funds. If you donate anything, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your support." Now, obviously, you guys don't have to donate, but I would really appreciate if you go to my Twitter feed or anyone's or even Raging Rhinos and just retweet this out so that we can get some eyes on it. The fundraiser is right here, and I'm going to be putting it in the chat. So if you're feeling generous, please be kind to Raging Rhino and help him out because we all know cancer's a bitch. So here's the link to Help Raging. I'll just put Help Raging. There we go. And that's the GoFundMe link. And so there's that there. And I'm going to put it in the Rumble chat as well. Help Raging. There we go. So yeah, there we go. I just wanted to put some eyes on that because it's a terrible thing to go through. And my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family, Raging Rhino.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
And with that said, we are now going to switch over to Rumble. So everybody, let's get to have some adult conversation. We're going to come out of the entertainment talk now and talk some adult things. The adults are talking, the kids are going to bed, and we're going to Rumble. So we will see you there. Thank you, YouTube. All you guys that are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you're not going to go over to Rumble, I highly suggest you do because the conversation is just about to get even more spicy. I'm going to put the chat for Rumble. I think Darren's been dropping the link. It's actually in the pinned comment as well. Yes. So there it is. Make sure you go over there. And and again, thank you, YouTube, for watching. Thank you for the super chats, for gifting memberships, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye, YouTube.
See ya.
Are you ready? Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen,